Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Welcome to Some Dumb Guy's first official movie review. Today we're talking about Wolf Man. This is directed by Lee Whannell, starring Julia Garner, Christopher Abbott, and Matilda Firth. We have a story here of a family venturing into a heavily wooded area in Central Oregon, returning to the childhood home of the father, who is played by Christopher Abbott here. Along the way, as trailer suggests, this family is attacked. Their guide is killed and taken off by an animal, a creature, or something, we don't know necessarily. And in the process, the father is injured, presumably scratched on the arm, and the family flees where they have been attacked. Well, they drive their U-Haul off the road and it gets crashed, and this is where the animal actually attacks them. They flee, fortunately being close to the childhood farmhouse where the father grew up. His name is Blake. So they run, they're pursued by this animal. They barricade themselves in Blake's childhood home. And again, as the trailer suggests, as the family is barricaded here, the father, Blake, begins to go through a bit of a transformational process. It turns out we've got a form of werewolfism, and Blake has been infected, and his body transforms. He's going through a very nightmarish type situation that is almost akin to David Cronenberg's The Fly. His body just becomes this metamorphosis, and his family is having to sit by and watch in despair, too afraid to venture out, to leave. All of this is taking place over the course of one night, and trepidation and fear of what's happening to Blake and what they are supposed to do about it, and fear of leaving and being able to leave. They have a CB radio that Blake's father had used to communicate with his neighbors. They're desperately trying to reach out for help. They're not able to reach anybody. In a desperate attempt, they run outside to Blake's father's truck. Now, mind you, I should backtrack a little bit. Blake's father had recently been declared deceased. Blake grew up with his father at this farmhouse. They had a very distant and obstructive relationship that is shown in a brief sequence at the beginning of the movie. When he was old enough to venture out on his own, he left that environment and headed for the big city. Blake's father disappeared at some point and had been declared deceased, so they are going to that farmhouse to get everything packed up and presumably to sell the home, the property, whatever. So everything in the home is basically untouched from the point of when his father had disappeared. So back to the narrative, they get out to the truck and running, trying to get it going. Blake is in a half transformative state. He's half aware of things going on around him, but at the same time, in an interesting little bit of perspective flipping, it's demonstrated that Blake can't understand anything people are saying, nor can he speak any longer. You get this weird transformational thing where you're having an interaction between Blake and his wife Charlotte, or Blake and his daughter Ginger, and it'll flip perspectives where you're hearing Charlotte or Ginger speak and Blake looking on kind of blankly, and then it'll transition over and you'll actually see the world as Blake's metamorphosized eyes are witnessing it, and what he's actually hearing, which at this point is essential gibberish. So he's in this really in a state of confusion. He doesn't know what's really going on, but instinctively he's aware of things. And they get into this truck, and then they're attacked by this animal creature again, which you're actually now able to see a little bit more clearly. And this creature chases them back to the house again. At this point, the creature is able to break in, and you find out and you witness what this creature is, which is not your traditional werewolf per se. Kind of, obviously werewolves have been portrayed differently throughout cinematic history. transformations into full wolves, transformations into a hybrid half man, half wolf. In this case, I'd almost describe it as 75% man, 25% wolf, where their features are still largely human for the most part, with some enhanced wolf-like kind of features. Blake and this wolf creature, wolf man, get into it. There's a battle, all while Blake is continuing to transform, and it becomes this fight for survival. No spoilers here. That's where we're going to stop our synopsis of the story, going through it. I want to say that the two lady leads in this film, Julia Garner, Charlotte the mother, as well as Matilda Firth in particular as the daughter Ginger, did a really great job. Matilda Firth, or as young as she is, wow, she's 10 years old. Okay, I was expecting a little bit older, but her performance is absolutely phenomenal in this film. She is probably the absolute highlight. And she brings this heart and this innocence to this overwhelmingly horrific situation. She is the link between this married couple whose marriage is very rocky at this point, and part of this trip is to try to mend the family because husband and wife have drifted apart in their respective careers and their relational life, and what is taking place within the family. They're very much removed. Father-daughter dynamic in this film is great. They are like the solid part of the actual family unit up until the accident and the transformation that Blake goes through. And then consequently, because he's now almost out of the loop, there becomes an establishing bond between mother and daughter. So it kind of takes that up on the second half of the story, which is amazing, the way that there's a transitional part between portraying a really good father and then portraying a really good mother, but on opposite ends, bookending the film. So she's the center linchpin connecting these two, which is I think a really creative way for storytelling. Blake as a character is intriguing in the way he's represented. He's represented as Christopher Abbott here, his performance. A good father, traumatized by his youth and working to overcome it. So he has his moments of slippage, we'll just call it, right? Where the influences of his father growing up manifest themselves in specific but brief ways, which consequently he becomes aware of them and attempts to rectify it. So you get some really great, nuanced and complicated family dynamics wrapped up in this, what I would call relatively fast-paced tale. And being a January release, you worry. And particularly a horror movie. January, February are the Hollywood dumping grounds, and a lot of the lower expectation horror films get lumped into that. And there weren't a lot of people there, nor would I expect there to be. That's why I go to mid-afternoon weekday screenings. There was probably 10, 12 of us in the theater. One viewer, audience member, he got up and left halfway through the movie. Of course, he couldn't stay off his phone from even before the movie started, so I don't know what he was even doing there in the first place. Overall, everybody else seemed relatively entertained from certain comments that were being made. Special effects work, I think, was top-notch. Going through, watching the transformation process that the Blake is going through, and knowing that there would have had to have been stages of progressionary makeup adjustments to represent each stage of the transformation. And overall, it's just, I think it's a really solid entry. It's not necessarily a reimagining of being a Universal picture. It's not a reimagining of the Universal Wolfman classic film. This stands on as its own thing. It's not necessarily a... Hey, look, there's the kitty. There's little Sugar. Say hi, little Sugar. Say hi. She doesn't usually do that. Hello, kitty. Say hi to the audience. No? Oh, purring. She's happy. Anyway, that's it. My first attempt at a film review. I'm giving this one yeah. So, just occurs to me, I don't have a rating system or anything set up. Talk about being prepared in some dumb guy fashion, right? So we're going to have to work something out on that if film reviews are going to become a regular aspect of my channel. Right now, I think I would give this a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 if we're going to go through a 1 through 10 scale. we're just going to let that suffice for the moment and maybe revisit that at some point and see where we want this thing to end up at. Oh, have you seen Wolfman? Are you intending to see Wolfman? Do you have anything to say about Wolfman or my review? The word box below, fill it with letters, punctuation, spaces, express thoughts, opinions, feelings, whatever. Got a favorite ice cream? Do you like this shoe? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.